Her screams weren't loud, they were desperate, and the sound of that metal chain scraping against the porch still haunts me. When I turned the corner and saw my 12-year-old daughter, pale, shaking, clutching her chest in pain, chained like an animal to our own porch railing, my vision went red. Her oxygen monitor was flashing red. Her lips were turning blue, and standing over her, smirking like she owned the whole world, was HOA Karen, gripping the padlock key between her fingers like some evil trophy. She hissed, "Rules are rules. No sick kids outside. The neighborhood must look perfect." My daughter gasped, "Dad, I can't breathe." She had no idea who I really was. No idea I'm the police chief. And no idea what was about to happen next. Because the moment she touched my child, she broke more than just rules. Before we begin this story, I want to ask you something important. What city are you watching from? Drop your city name in the comments. I love seeing where my viewers across the USA and around the world are tuning in from. And before we dive into this emotional roller coaster, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss stories like this, because this one changed my entire life. My daughter, Emily, is the bravest 12-year-old you'll ever hear about. Born with a severe heart condition, every breath she takes is a delicate balance between strength and survival. Doctors told us from day one, stress can trigger an attack. Fear can stop a rhythm. Never restrict her movement. Ever. So Emily grew up learning to live gently, slow steps, deep breaths, soft routines. But she also grew up smiling, dreaming, and believing the world was kinder than the pain she carried in her chest. What she didn't know, what none of us expected, was that the real danger wouldn't come from her heart, but from the woman next door. Our HOA president, the self-appointed neighborhood queen. The woman who thought she could control everything with rules, fines, and threats. Karen. She didn't care about Emily's condition. She didn't care about compassion. She cared about her HOA standards more than a child's life. And the day she chained my daughter to our porch like she was some kind of criminal, she had no idea who she was really dealing with. Because I'm not just Emily's dad. I'm the police chief. And she had just declared war on the wrong family. The morning it happened didn't feel like the beginning of a nightmare. In fact, it started out peaceful, the kind of soft, quiet morning Emily loved. The air was cool, the sun gentle, and a slow breeze moved through our neighborhood like a sleepy whisper. Emily sat on the porch swing, wrapped in her favorite light blanket, humming a tune only she understood. Her heart monitor blinked a steady green. Her breathing was calm. It was one of those rare moments when everything felt okay. I stood inside the doorway, coffee in hand, watching her like I always did, the way a parent watches something fragile and precious. Every rise of her chest mattered. Every expression on her face told me exactly how her heart was doing. She had survived so much already. Surgeries, ER visits, nights where we didn't know if she'd see the next sunrise. But through all of it, she stayed gentle, hopeful, and impossibly kind. She looked up and smiled at me. "Daddy, today feels like a good day." "I think so, too, sweetheart," I said, but just as I stepped back inside, I heard the sound that always made Emily tense up, Karen's voice. Sharp, irritated, echoing like nails on a chalkboard. "What is that doing on my street at this hour?" Emily froze. Her heart rate jumped so fast I saw the flashing red reflection through the window before I even reached her. Karen marched across the lawn like she owned the entire county. Perfectly styled hair, clipboard in hand, that ridiculous HOA sash she wore during her inspection rounds, as if she were some kind of elected official rather than a self-appointed dictator with too much free time. I opened the door. "Karen, whatever it is now is not the—" But she cut me off. "This porch looks messy. Blankets outside are against protocol. No personal items visible from the street. And why is she out here alone?" "She's not alone," I said calmly. "I'm right here. And she's allowed to sit on her own porch." "Not when it makes the neighborhood look unbalanced," she snapped. "Children should be inside in the mornings. It disrupts the aesthetic." Aesthetic. That word again. She always said it like she invented it. My daughter slowly stood up. Her lips were pale now, her breathing shallow. Fear always triggered her symptoms. I'm sorry, ma'am, she whispered. Karen didn't even look at her. Rules are rules. My jaw tightened. Emily needs fresh air. Doctor's orders. Her heart requires calm outdoor time. Karen smirked, as if that was the funniest excuse she'd ever heard. Do you expect me to believe that? Everyone in this neighborhood thinks you use that medical excuse to avoid HOA consequences. I stared at her, stunned. I'm not going to argue with you, Karen. Please leave. She scoffed, spun around, and walked off, but not before glaring at Emily one more time. The monitor still flashed yellow. Stress climbed her heart rate fast. I helped her sit back down, rubbing her back gently. Deep breaths, sweetheart. She's gone. But Karen wasn't gone. Not really. Because 10 minutes later, Emily asked for something simple, something she asked for every morning. Dad, can I bring my sketchbook outside? I want to draw the bird nest. Of course, I said, kissing her forehead. I'll go grab it. I walked inside, upstairs to her room. Those 30 seconds changed everything. Because when I came back, Emily wasn't on the porch swing. The blanket was on the ground. Her heart monitor was flashing red, and she was pulled tight against the porch railing, a chain wrapped around her waist and locked behind her back. At first, my brain couldn't even process what I was seeing. It felt unreal, like some twisted scene from a movie. Emily struggled, tears spilling down her cheeks as she desperately tried to breathe. She tugged at the chain, but every movement only seemed to worsen the pain in her chest. Daddy, she gasped, her hand clutching her heart. I sprinted down the steps, nearly tripping. Emily, who did this? She couldn't answer. She was too busy trying not to collapse. Then I heard footsteps, and there she was, Karen, holding a padlock key, looking smug, proud, victorious, as if she'd just solved world hunger instead of endangering a medically fragile child. I told you, she said coldly. Rules are rules. Children are not allowed to sit outside unattended. This will teach her not to sneak out again. She wasn't sneaking out. I shouted, my voice shaking with a fury I had never felt before. She was sitting on our own porch. That's not against any rule. Karen shrugged. Well, I'm updating the rule book. Effective immediately. I knelt beside my daughter, checking her pulse. It was too fast, too weak. Her breathing was uneven, her eyes unfocused. If I didn't free her within seconds, she could go into cardiac distress. I stood, looking Karen dead in the eye. Give me the key. No, she snapped. I'm filing a violation. And until then, she stays right there to learn a lesson. My hands curled into fists. I had dealt with criminals, abusers, gang members, violent offenders, but I had never wanted to break someone more than I did in that moment. She had no idea who I was. No idea she had chained the daughter of the police chief. No idea she was seconds away from unleashing something far bigger than an HOA violation. She smirked again, opening her mouth to deliver another cruel jab, but she never got the chance. Because that was the moment Emily's monitor let out a sound I had only ever heard twice before. A long, piercing, continuous alarm. Her heart was failing, and Karen stood there smiling. The moment Emily's heart monitor let out that continuous, piercing alarm, everything around me blurred. People talk about adrenaline like it's some kind of surge, but when your child is dying in front of you, adrenaline becomes a razor. It sharpens your instincts. It cuts through fear, sound, everything. All I could think was one thing. Get her out. Now. I lunged toward the padlock on the chain, trying to break it with my bare hands. The metal dug into my skin, slicing my palm, but I didn't care. Emily's tiny hands trembled as she clutched the railing, tears spilling from her eyes. Her breaths grew shorter, faster, uneven, each inhale a fight, each exhale a prayer. Daddy, it hurts. I'm right here, sweetheart, I whispered, my voice cracking. Hold on, I've got you. Behind me, Karen sighed loudly, as if we were inconveniencing her. Oh, stop being dramatic, she snapped. Kids exaggerate everything. If she didn't want this to happen, She shouldn't have broken the rules. I turned, rage flooding every corner of my body. She didn't break anything. She is medically fragile. You chained a heart-patient child to a railing. Because she needed to learn, Karen said calmly, folding her arms. Children must respect structure. And we, she pointed at the ground like she was addressing a courtroom, have HOA standards. A neighbor passing by froze. Then another. Within moments, a small crowd gathered on the sidewalk, whispering. Shocked, confused, horrified. Some people lifted their phones. Some covered their mouths. But Karen didn't care. In fact, she seemed proud people were watching. I reached down and tried again to yank the chain free. Skin tore. My fingers burned. The lock stayed firm. Emily's alarm kept screaming. Karen finally stepped forward, not to help, but to point at my daughter like she was inspecting trash. See, she said loudly to the neighbors. This is exactly what happens when people think they can ignore the HOA. If you let one child sit outside whenever she wants, then suddenly every porch looks messy. People bring blankets out, sketches, toys. I stood up so fast she stumbled backward. Give me the key. She stepped behind her clipboard like it was a shield. After the violation is recorded. You are endangering a medically fragile minor, I warned. This is not just an HOA issue. This is criminal. She rolled her eyes. You always say that, and yet you've never done anything about it. Then she smirked, the same cruel smirk from earlier. You wouldn't dare. And that's when I realized she truly had no idea who I was. Most of the neighborhood thought I worked at a desk downtown, a quiet office somewhere, a normal job. My family liked privacy, so I never put my badge on display. I never talked about cases. People didn't know what I dealt with daily: crime scenes, domestic abuse, arrests, interrogation rooms, dangerous men, and broken families. But Karen? She didn't just not know. She underestimated me. And that was her fatal mistake. Karen, a neighbor finally said, stepping forward. Unlock her. She's turning blue. Karen scoffed. She'll be fine. Kids fake being sick all the time. My daughter doesn't fake anything, I snapped. Karen shrugged. Then maybe she shouldn't be outside where everyone has to look at her. A stunned silence fell. Even the neighbors who normally tolerated Karen stepped back in disgust. One woman gasped. Another man shook his head, whispering, What the hell is wrong with her? But Karen stood tall, proud of the chaos she created. I reached behind the porch column, where I kept an emergency axe box hidden, not for people. For emergencies like house fires, broken doors, stuck windows, safety situations. I smashed the glass, grabbed the axe, and lifted it in one fluid motion. Gasps erupted from the neighbors. Karen jolted backward, eyes widening. What do you think you're doing? I didn't look at her. I brought the axe down on the chain. Clang. It didn't break. Emily's monitor beeped faster. I swung again. Harder. Clang. Still no use. Her breaths came in tiny, desperate gasps now, the kind that break a father's heart into 1,000 pieces. Her skin turned a ghostly pale. Her lips trembled. She whispered, Dad, I can't. Karen threw her hands up in mock frustration. Ugh, fine, if it will make you stop throwing a tantrum. But before she could finish her sentence, I reached down, grabbed the chain as tight as I could, and pulled with every ounce of strength I had left in me. My arms burned. My shoulder felt like it was tearing. My vision blurred. But then, the bolt holding the chain snapped from the old wooden railing. The force sent me backward. Emily collapsed into my arms, gasping for air. I ripped the chain off her waist and tossed it across the porch. Her monitor dropped from red to flashing yellow. Still dangerous, but better than before. I pressed her against my chest, trying to steady her breathing. I've got you, baby. You're safe now. You're safe. Deep breaths. Stay with me. Neighbors rushed forward, offering water, calling 911, yelling at Karen. But Karen stepped back, her face twisting into something bitter and cold. You people are unbelievable, she shouted. I did the neighborhood a favor. That child distracts people. She disrupts the peace. And you, she pointed at me like I was the criminal. You're a terrible parent for letting her break community rules. That was it. The last line. The one I would never forgive. I stood up slowly, still holding Emily. I looked Karen dead in the eyes. You just committed child endangerment, I said quietly. Assault, false imprisonment, negligence, harassment. And that's before we even get to the medical harm. Stop speaking like you know the law, she snapped. You're just... I'm the police chief. The words hit her like a punch. Her mouth fell open. Her eyes widened. Her clipboard slipped from her fingers, hitting the ground with a pathetic clatter. You're lying, she stammered. I pulled out my badge. Neighbors gasped. Karen's face drained of color. You chained my daughter. I said softly, dangerously, and you're going to answer for every second she suffered. She tried to step back, but her legs shook. I didn't mean... Yes, she did. She meant all of it. And now she was going to face the consequences. I didn't waste another second. With Emily still shaking in my arms, I rushed past the neighbors down the porch steps and toward my patrol SUV parked in the driveway. I always kept emergency medical equipment inside it. Years of experience taught me that emergencies never waited for paramedics, especially not when a heart condition was involved. Her breaths were sharp, shallow, uneven. Every few seconds, her chest fluttered like a tiny bird trapped underwater. Dad, I feel dizzy. I know, honey. I know. Stay with me, I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady even though my entire body was trembling. A neighbor ran alongside us. I called 911. Paramedics are on the way. No time, I said. Her heart can crash before they arrive. I laid her gently in the back seat, clipped the pulse oximeter to her finger, and my stomach dropped at the numbers. Oxygen falling. Heart rate skyrocketing. She was in real danger. As I started the car, I glanced one last time at the porch. Karen stood there frozen, not out of guilt, but out of fear of what would happen to her. Not once did she check on Emily. Not once did she show concern. Instead, she mouthed 2 words at me. You will regret this. Even in that moment, my daughter barely breathing, she still tried to intimidate me. I slammed the door shut and sped down the street. The hospital was 10 minutes away, but those 10 minutes felt like 10 lifetimes. Emily lay across the seat, gripping my hand with weak fingers. Her monitor beeped erratically, too fast one moment, too slow the next. Daddy, am I going to be okay? You're going to be more than okay, I said. You're strong, sweetheart. You're stronger than anyone I know. Her eyes fluttered. I'm scared. I'm right here, I said, brushing her hair back. We're almost there. But internally I was fighting panic. I'd seen adults collapse from episodes like this, let alone a small child with a fragile heart. And I wasn't losing her, not today, not ever. When we screeched into the ER parking lot, nurses were already waiting. They rushed toward the SUV, pulling open a back door. She's in cardiac distress, I said, lifting her into my arms. We've got her, one nurse said calmly as they placed her on a stretcher. Emily's fingers slipped from mine, and they wheeled her into the trauma bay. And then they closed the curtain, leaving me standing there alone, covered in dried blood from my own torn hands. Shaking, terrified, praying. A doctor approached minutes later, though it felt like hours. Chief, your daughter is stable for the moment, he said, but she's very weak. You said she was restrained. Yes, I said, swallowing hard. A neighbor chained her to our porch. It triggered an attack. His eyes widened. She was chained? By who? An HOA president, Karen Briggs. He shook his head in disbelief. That's abuse. She's lucky you got her here fast. Lucky. I exhaled for the first time since the monitor alarm went off. But while they worked on Emily inside, I walked outside because I needed air before the rage inside me erupted. I leaned against the wall, hands on my knees, chest heaving, and that's when my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. I answered. This is Chief Reynolds. A voice dripping with poison replied. Oh, good, you're not at the house. That makes things easier. I froze. Karen, what do you want? I hissed. You made a huge mistake, she said smugly. A very, very big mistake. You chained my medically fragile daughter. Oh, stop, she interrupted. You'll thank me one day. I was maintaining order. Structure. You let her do whatever she wants. I was teaching her consequences. My grip tightened on the phone. You endangered a child. That is a felony. She chuckled. You wouldn't dare arrest me. You know what happens if you do. HOA lawsuits, neighborhood petitions, board retaliation. I'll make your life miserable. You already have. Silence. Then, you think the neighbors will back you? They already told me you overreacted. I'm the president. They listened to me. Always. I laughed bitterly. They watched you chain a child. You think they won't testify? You underestimate how much people fear losing favor, she said. Nobody crosses me. Nobody. She wasn't threatening me. She was promising war. Then she said the one line that made my entire body go cold. And while you're at the hospital, I'm on my way to your house to document everything for a violation report. I'll tow your vehicles. I'll fine you until you beg me to stop. And I'm changing the community rules. Your daughter is no longer allowed outside without board approval. You step foot on my property, I warned, my voice shaking with fury. And what? She whispered. Remember, I know where you live. The call ended. I stared at the phone, disbelief and rage mixing into something dangerous. Before I could even react, a nurse peeked out from the ER doors. Chief, your daughter's asking for you. I rushed inside. Emily lay in the hospital bed, hooked to IVs and monitors, pale but conscious. She looked so small against the white sheets. When she saw me, her eyes softened. Dad, am I in trouble? I sat beside her and held her hand. No, sweetheart, you didn't do anything wrong. What happened was not your fault. She said I broke a rule, she whispered. My chest tightened with emotions I didn't know how to hold. Sometimes people use rules to hurt others. That doesn't make them right. She nodded weakly, then said something so innocent it shattered me. I don't want to make the neighbors upset. I squeezed her hand. You didn't. You made no one upset. The only person who's upset is someone who chose to be cruel. Her eyes closed slowly. What will happen to her? I looked at the heart monitor's steady green line, and for the first time since that morning, I made a silent promise. Whatever happened next, Karen was not walking away from this. As Emily drifted off into sleep, a nurse tapped my shoulder. Chief, you might want to step outside. We have an issue. My stomach dropped. What now? She pointed out the window. I looked outside. Karen was standing in the hospital parking lot, with her phone out, filming me, filming the hospital, filming everything. She wasn't scared. She wasn't hiding. She was doubling down. And it was only the beginning. Karen stood in the hospital parking lot like she owned it, perfect posture, phone held high, sunglasses blocking the emotions she didn't have. She wasn't just filming. She was live streaming. What the hell? I muttered under my breath as I stepped outside. Nurses stopped and stared. Patients inside watched through the windows. A small crowd formed near the ambulance bay. Karen didn't care. She thrived on attention, lived for it. And now she wanted to humiliate me publicly. When she spotted me coming toward her, she smirked and angled her phone upward. And here he is, she said loudly into her live stream. The neighborhood menace. The man who assaulted an HOA president because he doesn't like rules. I stopped a few feet from her. Karen shut the camera off. She ignored me, continuing her dramatic monologue. Viewers, please comment if you agree children need discipline. Structure. Order. His daughter broke rules, and he attacked me when I enforced them. A nurse stepped up, furious. Ma'am, you are on hospital property. You are not allowed to film patients or staff without permission. Karen turned to her with exaggerated innocence. Oh, dear, I'm not filming patients. I'm filming him. She pointed at me. This man who thinks he's above the law. I clenched my jaw. Karen, you chained a child. That's not enforcing rules. That's criminal. She scoffed. Your daughter is fine. She's exaggerating. I know kids. They fake things to get out of trouble. I see it all the time in the HOA. I felt a deep, burning anger build inside me, one I had to fight to control. You're filming inside a medical emergency zone. That is a federal violation. Oh, please, Karen snorted. Everything is a violation to you. You cops love making up rules. Her comments stung, not because they were true, but because I knew exactly what she was doing. This wasn't about rules. This wasn't about the HOA. This was about control. She would rather create chaos than admit she had harmed a child. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Karen, if you don't leave this property right now, I will have you removed. She smiled, a cold, triumphant smile. I dare you. She wanted a scene. She wanted a meltdown. She wanted something she could twist, spin, weaponize. But what she didn't want was the truth. Suddenly, a voice boomed behind us. Hey, get away from her. I turned. 3 neighbors from our street were marching toward us. But they weren't coming to help me. They were coming to defend her. Tim, the guy who always complained about sidewalk leaves. Sharon, the woman who worshipped the HOA board. And Dan, a man who never liked my family, for reasons he never stated. Karen's reinforcements. She's the HOA president. Tim shouted, pointing at me. You can't threaten her. She said, your daughter faked the whole thing, Sharon added. If that's true, you owe Karen an apology. My mouth dropped open. She didn't fake anything, she nearly died. Karen folded her arms smugly. See, this is what I deal with. Drama, lies, disrespect. Dan stepped forward. You always think you're above the community, Chief. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. My daughter is in the trauma unit because she was physically restrained by this woman, but they didn't care. Because Karen was spinning the story faster than the truth could travel. She chained her for a reason. Sharon said sharply. Karen said your daughter was trespassing, running through yards, bothering neighbors. I stared at her, speechless. She can barely run. She can barely walk fast. She was sitting on our porch. Karen interjected loudly. He's lying. The 3 nodded like disciples. I instantly recognized what was happening. Karen had her loyal followers, people who relied on her for approval, social standing, access to HOA decisions. People who feared being punished by her. People she manipulated, and she had lied to them before they arrived. This wasn't confrontation. This was an ambush. A nurse stepped out again, shouting, all of you need to leave hospital property immediately, or we will involve security. Karen lifted her chin proudly. Security won't remove me. I'm the president of the Sunset Ridge HOA. I have every right to be here. No, I said firmly. You don't. I stepped aside as hospital security approached, 3 officers in uniform. They surrounded Karen, her followers, and their phones. Ma'am, the lead officer said, you are disrupting an emergency area and violating patient privacy. You need to shut the camera off and leave. Karen laughed. You can't force me. I know my rights. You're live streaming patients behind you, the officer replied. If you don't leave, you will be detained. Her face twisted, somewhere between panic and fury. This wasn't going the way she expected. She looked around for an audience that supported her, but the nurses glared at her. The patients looked terrified. Security stood firm. She was losing control, and she knew it, so she snapped. This is all his fault, she shrieked, pointing at me. He's turning everyone against me. He's lying. He's trying to destroy the HOA. Then she lunged. At me. Security grabbed her mid-swing, pinning her arms. She kicked, screamed, thrashed like a wild animal. Let me go. I'm the president. I make the rules. No, I said calmly, looking her straight in the eyes. You break them. Security pulled her back, but she twisted her head toward me, eyes filled with venom. This isn't over, she growled. Not even close. You think you won? You have no idea what's coming. Her voice was so cold, so full of hatred, it made even her loyal followers step back. Take her off the property, I said. Security escorted her through the parking lot as she screamed insults, threats, and legal nonsense. Her followers trailed behind her like lost puppies. When she finally disappeared around the corner, the hospital fell quiet. A nurse exhaled deeply. "Chief, I'm so sorry you're dealing with this." I nodded. "I'll handle her." But as I turned to head back inside, something on the ground caught my eye. A small piece of paper. Torn. Wrinkled. I picked it up. It was a printed document. A petition. Removal of Chief Reynolds as community member due to rule violations. My name. My address. My family. Signatures lined the bottom. And right above the signatures was a typed line, initiated and organized by HOA President Karen Briggs. Effective immediately. My heart dropped. She hadn't just planned to chain my daughter. She had been planning something bigger, something targeted, organized, malicious, long before this day even began. And now I knew. This wasn't about rules. This wasn't about my daughter. Karen wanted us gone. And she was willing to destroy a child to make it happen. Back inside the hospital, the chaos of the parking lot still rattled through me like aftershocks. I sat next to Emily's bed, watching her sleep, her tiny chest rising unsteadily beneath the blanket, her heart monitor beeping a calmer rhythm now. But even while staring at her, my mind spun around that petition. Karen didn't chain Emily because of rules. Karen didn't livestream because she was defending the HOA. This was personal, targeted, calculated, and old. She'd been plotting against us long before today. But why? That question gnawed at me as I stepped into the hallway to call my deputy and have him document everything for evidence. As I waited for him to arrive, a nurse tapped my shoulder. "Chief, someone is here asking to speak with you." My heart jumped. "Is it Karen?" "No, it's someone who says they know her." I followed the nurse to a small consultation room, and inside sat a woman I had never seen before. Late 40s, simple clothing, no makeup, hands folded in her lap, like she didn't know whether she was supposed to be here. She stood when she saw me. "Chief Reynolds." "Yes." "My name is..." She hesitated, then exhaled. "My name is Angela Briggs, Karen's older sister." My eyebrows shot up. Karen had a sister? I didn't even know she had family. She always talked like she existed alone on a throne she built herself. Angela motioned to the chair. "Please sit. I won't take much of her time. I came because I saw the live stream. And because I know what she did." I sat slowly, unsure where this was going. "Your sister chained my daughter. She endangered her life." Angela's eyes filled with tears. "I know. And I'm so sorry. You don't understand how long she's been broken." Broken. A word I had never considered for Karen. "She wasn't always like this," Angela continued, voice trembling. "Before the HOA. Before the power trips. Before she became the woman you know." She swallowed hard. "It started 20 years ago." I leaned forward. "What happened?" Angela twisted her hands together. "Karen had a daughter." My breath caught. "A daughter?" She nodded. Her name was Lily. She was 8 years old. Sweet, quiet, always drawing pictures of houses, because she loved the idea of the perfect home. Karen adored her. Everything she did was to make their neighborhood look safe, orderly, beautiful for Lily. My chest tightened. I had never imagined Karen as a mother. One evening, Angela continued, there was a block party. Kids everywhere. Music, food, decorations. Lily wandered off for just a few minutes. Her voice cracked. She crossed the street at the wrong time. I closed my eyes. "Oh God." Angela nodded, tears falling. She didn't make it. Karen blamed herself. She was supposed to be watching her. She was supposed to keep her safe. She said if the neighborhood had been more controlled, more structured, more disciplined, Lily would still be alive. "That's not true," I said gently. Angela shook her head. "Logic doesn't matter when you're drowning in guilt." I understood that. Pain changes people. But Karen took that guilt and twisted it, Angela said. She convinced herself rules could prevent tragedy. That control could replace loss. She became obsessed with order, with neighborhoods, with perfect behavior. and eventually with punishing anything that threatened that illusion. She lost her daughter, I whispered, and instead of grieving, she tried to rebuild her through the HOA. Angela nodded. Every child she sees outside without supervision reminds her of Lily. Every parent who seems relaxed makes her angry because she was relaxed when Lily wandered off. And when she sees a fragile child like your daughter, it triggers her. She doesn't see Emily. She sees Lily. Silence filled the room. Suddenly, Karen's rage made sense. Not justified, not forgiven, but explained. She saw my child as a reminder of her failure. I said, "Exactly," Angela whispered. She wants the world to obey her rules because she thinks that's the only way to stop the universe from hurting her again, and hurting others in the process. I said bitterly. Angela wiped her eyes. "Chief, she needs help. Real help. Therapy. Intervention." She spiraled so far into this fantasy of control that she doesn't even know when she's hurting people anymore. I exhaled. That doesn't excuse chaining a child. No, Angela said quietly. It doesn't. But I came because you deserve to know the truth before things get worse. Worse? I echoed. Angela hesitated. Karen didn't just organize a petition against you. She also filed a motion with the HOA board last night. I frowned. Filed what? Angela looked at me, fear in her eyes. A motion to have your family forcibly relocated for community safety. She wants to remove your home from the neighborhood entirely. Tear it down. What? I stood abruptly. She can't do that. She doesn't have the authority. Not legally, Angela said, but she has influence. Followers. People she scares. People she manipulates. She's convinced them that your daughter is a threat to the neighborhood image, that having a child with medical issues lowers property values. I felt my blood run cold. She thinks Emily lowers property value? She said it publicly, Angela whispered. She said, kids like that ruin the aesthetic. Aesthetic. That cursed word again. Angela wiped fresh tears. She's not trying to punish you, Chief. She's trying to erase you. Erase your daughter. Erase any reminder of her own pain. I sat back down, heart pounding. Why are you telling me this? Angela's voice broke. Because I'm tired of watching her destroy people. She ruined her marriage. She ruined friendships. She ruined her life. And now she's after yours. I took a long breath. Thank you. I need to know everything. Angela nodded. There's one more thing. I braced myself. She didn't come to the hospital today to bother you. I frowned. Then why? She came, Angela hesitated, to take pictures of your daughter's condition so she can argue that your family is a community liability. She wants to use Emily's hospitalization as evidence against you. My stomach twisted. Anger rushed through my veins like fire. She wants to weaponize my daughter's medical emergency, I said through clenched teeth. Angela nodded slowly. Yes, and she won't stop. Not until someone stops her. I stood up. For the first time, I said quietly, I know exactly what I have to do. And for the first time, Karen's reign of terror was about to end. The moment Angela left the room, everything in my body shifted. My fear, my confusion, my shock, all of it sharpened into a single unshakable purpose. Protect my daughter. End Karen's tyranny. Once and for all. I walked back into Emily's room. She was awake now, propped up slightly, her heartbeat steadier. When she saw me, she smiled, small, fragile, but real. Daddy? I sat beside her and held her hand. I'm right here. Are you mad at me? She whispered. My heart broke. Mad at you? Sweetheart, you fought for your life today. You did everything right. She swallowed. But the neighbors, they looked angry. They weren't angry at you, I said softly. They were afraid of the wrong person. She closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. I don't want to go back home if she's there. Emily, I said, voice steady, you won't have to worry about her again. I promise. She nodded, still trembling. A nurse stepped inside. Chief, she's stable enough for a short rest. You can step out if you need to. I kissed Emily's forehead gently. Rest, baby. I'll be right outside. And then I stepped into the hallway, where 3 police officers, my officers, were waiting. Chief, Sergeant Miller said, "You called us?" "Yes," I replied. "It's time." We walked to the conference room. I laid out everything: the chain, the attack, the medical harm, the live stream, the harassment, the petition, the illegal filming, the intent to weaponize a child's condition. Every detail, every crime. My voice didn't shake. My hands didn't tremble. My anger was no longer loud. It was razor sharp. When I finished, Miller looked stunned. "She did all that?" "And more," I said. "She's planning to remove my family from the neighborhood. She wants to use the hospital footage to argue that my daughter is a community liability." Disgust flashed across his face. "Chief, that's sick." "Yes," I replied. "And today, she crossed a line we can't ignore." I signed the formal statement. Then I signed the arrest warrant. My own handwriting, my own badge, my own order. Justice wasn't coming. Justice had arrived. The arrest. 2 patrol cars pulled up to the hospital front entrance. Karen, unbelievably, was still there. Still arguing with security. Still ranting about the HOA. Still live streaming, now with the title. "Police Corruption Exposed. HOA President Under Attack." She was red-faced, sweating, shouting at a security officer who looked like he wanted to quit on the spot. "You can't remove me," she yelled. "This is MY community. My rules. My jurisdiction." Footsteps echoed behind her. My officers. She spun around and froze. Sergeant Miller stepped forward. "Karen Briggs." "Yes," she snapped. "And you have no right." "You're under arrest," he said firmly. "For child endangerment, unlawful restraint, harassment, invasion of medical privacy, and creating a public disturbance." She went pale. What? You can't do that. I'm the HOA president." "You're a criminal," Miller corrected. "Karen, clutch your phone. He did this. He did this. He hates me because I enforce rules." Miller didn't flinch. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." For the first time that day, Karen stopped talking. She looked around for her loyal followers, but no one stepped forward. No one defended her. No one said a word. They just watched, silently, as the queen of the neighborhood fell. Her phone slipped from her shaking hand as officers cuffed her wrists. She choked back a scream, but it was too late. The performance was over. The cameras weren't protecting her now. They escorted her into the patrol car. And I stood at the entrance watching. Not triumphant. Not proud, just relieved. Relieved that my daughter was safe. Relieved that justice had finally found Karen. Relieved that the nightmare was ending. Karen caught my eyes through the window as the door closed. And for the first time since I met her, she looked powerless. Later that evening, after hours of tests, monitoring, and slow recovery, Emily was cleared to be discharged. I carried her out of the hospital, wrapped in a soft blanket, her head resting on my shoulder. The neighborhood was quiet when we drove home. Peaceful. Still. For the first time in years, the street felt like home again, not a battlefield. At our driveway, several neighbors approached. Not angry. Not hostile. Apologetic. "Chief, we're sorry," Sharon said quietly. She'd been one of Karen's disciples earlier. Now her eyes were full of guilt. "We believed her lies. We didn't know what she was doing to your daughter." Another neighbor stepped forward. "We're filing a new petition to dissolve the HOA board. Permanently. And to support your family," someone added, "you deserve better." I looked at Emily. She looked at them. And for the first time since the morning, she smiled. A small, brave, beautiful smile. When we finally sat inside our living room, Emily curled against me on the couch, tubes still taped to her skin, heart monitors still blinking softly. "Dad," she whispered. "Yeah, sweetheart. Are we safe now?" I kissed the top of her head. With my whole life, I said, "You are safe now." She closed her eyes and exhaled the deepest, calmest breath she had taken all day. And as I held her, I realized something my viewers need to hear. Rules don't protect people. People protect people. Compassion protects people. Courage protects people. Standing up against cruelty protects people. Karen hid behind rules. She weaponized them. She believed control could erase pain. But love, real love, does what rules never can. It heals. It saves. It protects. If you're watching this right now, let me ask you. Backhand index pointing right. What city are you watching from? Tell me in the comments. I love reading where my community comes from. Backhand index pointing right. And if this story touched you even a little, hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next one. Because no child deserves fear. No parent deserves helplessness. And no bully, HOA, or otherwise deserves the last word. Not in my home. Not in my neighborhood. Not in my stories. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and take care of each other.